Finally got some trade deals made and some news with upcoming trade deals that could happen. Trade is getting a little bit better. Market is looking a little bit strong, but is this enough to hold the market high? Today, I'm going to be telling you guys all the news, everything you guys need to know about the stock market, some plays that you can make, supports and resistance, and literally everything that you need to know for the upcoming week. Let's get started. Are you guys struggling to become profitable with the stock market, making some option plays, any plays in general, making a long term, and you just want to learn the basics of the stock market and or how to become profitable, control your emotions? I made an all-in-one course. It's $199. First link in the description below. You will be making your money back probably the first day of trading. So honestly, man, go check it out if you guys want. If not, smash the like button, subscribe, and enjoy the video. So first off, Trump announced its first trade deal with the UK, and here's what happened. So basically, said that there is a deal confirmed with the UK, but kind of left us with a cliffhanger by saying it's going to take some time to get it finalized, but showed some people that we are going to have to wait. Markets kind of started going down because of this, but we started rebounding after that with some good news that we're going to be talking about later. Also, Bitcoin hit $100,000 and SPY hit new highs for the day, and the market basically went parabolic. Trade deals are getting better, and it showed. So what did we get? So tariff reductions on automobiles from 27.5% to 10% for the first 100,000 vehicles annually, and the tariffs on British steel and aluminum will be eliminated overall. Also saying that we use steel a lot and want shipbuilding to be bigger like it was before, basically saying that we used to build a lot of ships, but we don't anymore, and he just wants the steel and stuff like that to help benefit the US more. In return, the UK will reduce tariffs on us with beef, ethanol to 0% and has committed to purchasing Boeing aircraft. I think around 10 to 20 billion dollars worth of Boeing. So watch Boeing to the upside. We're going to look at the stock a little bit later, but that is some great news too. So it also opens up around $5 billion in new opportunities for American exporters. So honestly, we're benefiting off of this. And it also just opens up the door for other trade deals, especially with Trump talking about saying that we're going to have more trade deals in the works, especially with China. So we might have a meeting this weekend in Switzerland with China. So keep that in mind. But keep in mind that the UK deal is a significant step and it still remains in the framework rather than an actual trade agreement. So keep that in mind that things can really change and we have to see it official before we can really react too much. But the market's already kind of reacting on this news and news with other deals. So keep that in mind. But we also talked about some wartime things. So they talked about the Ukraine was kind of a central topic and saying that they want peace agreement with the Ukraine, saying that they could have peace soon or not at all. So UK Prime Minister also said that they're ready to deploy troops and aircraft to support the peace deal if we get one. President Trump also reaffirmed to the US commitment to NATO, but also urging European allies to increase their defense spending. We also go a little better news with more trade deals happening and basically saying more people are meeting up with Trump and some deals are on the table. So keep that in mind. That was some great news for the stock market. We're looking pretty decent and we got some decent news, honestly. But right now, SPY isn't really moving too much. We did get the good news, and NVIDIA actually came out with a better, or not better, but like a different H20 chip that meets up with the new requirements the new policy basically has. So you might see NVIDIA to the upside, and or it might just get a sell off like we did yesterday. So just keep, honestly, just be very patient. We're gonna get to some sports and resistance and some plays with that. But let's get to Boeing. So Boeing, after that great news, we spiked up a decent amount. We were down at like that 186 level and then mainly gaining like $10. But honestly, if you had some option plays, that would have made you a decent amount of money, especially since nobody really trades the options. So the value really like times by a bunch. So if you were in some option plays with Boeing yesterday, you could do good. With that being said, look at Boeing to the upside and or the downside, just see how it kind of reacts overall. We can fill the gaps back downwards and maybe get down to like 190 to that 189 level, and then we might get a break up and maybe even test that 200 level. So honestly, keep Boeing on your radar to the up or downside. Okay, so next, man, Bitcoin tops $102,000 and it's touched his highest level since January after Coinbase. And Coinbase did report earnings and it didn't really look too good. We're gonna be looking at that a little bit later, but Coinbase did start going down because of that. U.S. worker productivity falls in Q1 for the first time in 3 years, which is insane. So that might show a little bit of uncertainty. So everybody knows about the beef with Trump and Jerome, basically just saying that he's a fool for how he held the Fed rates. But honestly, man, I like that the Fed is still kind of solo right now. The politics can't really change them yet, so that looks good on the market overall. But honestly, man, people are just waiting on rate cuts. But man, we're getting some tariff tensions cools. Market is sizzling right now. We're looking pretty good. So honestly, man, I can't wait and see. Hopefully, this meeting with China and Switzerland this weekend. And honestly, man, people are expecting a de-escalation with this, so it might take a little bit longer to do for actual Chinese and a US deal. But honestly, man, hopefully it's great. Okay, so now last but not least, last news thing. Basically, Google stock rises as it rejects Apple's claim. Basically saying that doesn't add up and they get a lot of search quantities from Apple, so it's not really valid too much, but this brought Google stock up a decent amount and the deal should still be on the table. Now, what everybody's here for, some price targets to look at for the SPY and overall stocks. So to the upside, I will recommend looking at that 565.5. You break above that, look at 566.5, 568, 570. 570 is going to be key. If we can break above 570, look at 570.5 since that was the highs. If we break above that, look at 571.5, 572.5, and then 575. To the downside, look at that 564, 562.5, 561.5, and that 560 level. 560 has been on the radar for a while, but honestly, 560 and that 570 level are two key levels to look at, especially for the SPY. Below that, look at 557.5, 554.5, and that 550 level. Apple, man, Apple is looking okay. I think we hit that 200 level, but we didn't break it yesterday. So honestly, I'm gonna be watching that 200 level, especially if you get a rally upwards, especially with some decent news. I honestly think Apple can really move if we get some great news with China, but other countries, I don't know too much. But with that being said, to the upside, look at 198.5, 200, 201.5, 202.5, 203, and that 205 level. To the downside, look at 197.5, 197, 195.5, 194, and then all the way down to that 190 level. So 190, 200 is going to be key for Apple if you guys are paying attention to Apple. NVIDIA is next up, man. We got some decent news, and news overall with NVIDIA is looking pretty bullish. We got some better news with AI coming out saying that the spending power for AI is still up at like a high level, and who's going to benefit the most? NVIDIA. So I think NVIDIA has some decent bullish news out right now, but it's really just investor sentiment right now. So if we start going up to the upside, look at 118.5, 119, and that 120 is going to be key. If we can break above 120 finally, look at 125 to that 130 level. To the downside, look at 116.6, 115, 114.5, and that 113.15, and then that 110 level to the downside. After that, just look at 105 and that $100 level for NVIDIA. For Palantir, we're kind of getting back up to some decent levels. I think that 120, just watch that 120 level first. If we break above that, 122, 124, 125, and all the way up to that 130, which was our highs when we had earnings. To the downside, look at that 117.5, 116, 114.7, 113, all the way down to that 112 level. Tesla, man, Tesla's looking okay. We have been kind of looking okay with Tesla, but honestly, just had that sell off when everything else sold off. But look at the levels between 286.17 and then 290, and they kind of just trade around those two levels first. And then once it breaks, if it breaks above 290, look at 292, 295, and that 300 level everybody talks about. And then all the way down at the lows, look at 281, 280, 277, and then that 275 level to the downside if we break lower than this range or than the 286 range basically. But Bitcoin, man, Bitcoin is looking pretty strong. We do have a big sell off, but honestly, man, if it doesn't break below that 102.327, we should be coming back up and maybe rallying back up, and or you might see a sell off in Bitcoin, which I highly doubt just because of how Bitcoin is moving, how crypto is moving overall. Honestly, I think it's going to be moving pretty strong. But first off, let's talk about Coinbase because they just had earnings. So they didn't beat, so 87% downwards on their earnings and then 2.5% almost on their revenue, which isn't really too great, and they did die down a decent amount. With that being said though, what mainly drives this stock is Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin keeps on going up, you honestly just bought this stock at a decent price, especially if you can get that 104 to that 110,000 level on Bitcoin. I think this can still rally upwards. So to the upside, if Bitcoin keeps rallying, look at that one or 210, 210, 215, 220. And then to the downside, if Bitcoin starts selling off, especially if Bitcoin starts selling off, I think Coinbase is going to sell off even more than MSTR. But watch that $200 level, 195 and then 190. And the next stock to look at with Bitcoin is MSTR, is what I recommend looking at, especially, man, MSTR just moves exactly with Bitcoin. and kind of moves with SPY sometimes, but not really. So to the upside, look at that 425, 430, 435, and 440. To the downside, look at 420. 420 is going to be key if we break below that. 418, 415, 410, and then 405, and then 400 is going to be another key level. Another stock to look at if you guys want some cheap options is iBit. It's basically ETF and it moves exactly with Bitcoin, doesn't move with anything else, and the options are pretty cheap. Like literally like $300 for in the money plays, and if we go back to let's say MSTR, in the money plays is $3,000. Coinbase might be a little bit cheaper though. Is Coinbase is like $1,000 for in the money, but if you get iBit you can trade it. It's basically cheap, and then you guys don't have to spend too much money or risk too much money to save for some trades, especially trying to guess where crypto is going. But with that being said, thanks for watching the video. Smash that like button, subscribe if you guys are new. Check out the courses, link below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.